Okay, today I'm going to show you how to underglaze your pottery. An underglaze is going to give you details, and a glaze is going to give you a bigger area to paint. So, you want to pick something. If you have details, you're going to use underglaze. Or if you want to add details, you're going to use underglaze. So I have details on this one. So this was underglaze. There are already details on this one. There weren't any details on this one, so they added some designs to it in the lines, in the black. That's underglaze. This one they enhanced their design a little more by using underglaze. Now to get it this shiny, you have to make sure to put clear coat on top, which I will show you. So, to start with, take a damp sponge, wipe off your entire project with just a damp sponge. You're not trying to get it wet, you're trying to wipe off the dust so that the dust does not get mixed in with your glaze or underglaze, and so that the glaze and underglaze actually sticks. The underglazes are up here at the top. My samples are right here, so you know what colors to choose from. And then make sure you grab boxes that say current box on them. That way we don't have multi-containers of underglaze open and they're all drying out because they're not getting used. Underglazes dry out fairly quickly, so make sure you're using the current box. If something is dried out, let me know so we can fix it or replace it. Okay, so here are my images of my samples of underglazes. These all have a clear glaze on top. That's how they finish shiny. So make sure you read what's written below them so you get the right color. I did not make these names. These are the manufacturer's names. So I'm going to use violet and I'm going to use purple. And the purple doesn't really look purple. It's more of a blue violet. So I'm going to pick those two. So I go into my current boxes and everything is labeled. Everything is labeled. So here is my amethyst. And I'm going to leave that spot open so people know that I have it. So if you need to use amethyst as well and it's not in the box, then make sure to go find who has it. And then when I put things back, I'm going to make sure it goes right back in that spot. So I have my amethyst. And I'm also going to use purple, so I'm going to grab my purple. Now the only one that's not in the box is medium blue, because I went through it really fast before. So there is a big jar of medium blue. Make sure it says underglaze on it. It should say underglaze on it. So if you're looking for medium blue, it's going to be up there. Okay, so I have my colors picked out. Now I need brushes. Glaze brushes are right here, and underglaze brushes. Pick out some soft ones, because if they're too stiff, then you're not going to get any kind of flow to your underglaze. I'm going to get a good sized brush and a small brush because I want to do some details as well. Then I shake it up. And then this is a new bottle, so I'm going to open this up. Just wash my hands off a little bit there. Wipe my hands off so I spilled a little bit. Alright, so now there's a few different ways you can underglaze on a project. You can First off, just dip a little bit of your brush in. You don't need to get it soaking. And then you're going to put a coat on. And get that shaken up very well. So I got a coat on. I'm going to let it dry and come back and do a coat. I'm going to go ahead and brush on my whole shirt with this violet. Sorry, with the purple. And I'm letting it go into my grooves, and I'll explain why in just a minute. I'm tilting it up just so that you can see what I'm doing, but you do not have to tilt it up. And then I'm just going to do, you can thin it out. Use it thin and just kind of do some brush strokes in the back here. Then I'm going to close up my purple first, because I'm done with purple. Well, if I wanted it just straight, I'd do a second coat once it's dry, which you can see it doesn't take long to dry. It's drying fairly quickly. So I could do a second coat. I'm going to shake that up a little more first. Make sure that lid's on tight before you shake it. And I'm going to do a second coat over my shirt because it's dry already. When it's wet, it's darker. When it's dry, it turns a little lighter. That second coat is going to make it opaque. A single coat is going to make it thin, see-through almost. I'm going to go clean out my brush. And I'm going to dry it off. Make sure you go from the metal to the top of your brush to keep it in good shape. Now I'm going to go to my amethyst. And this is also a new one, so I got to open it. And for this one, I'm going to do some more thin coats back here in my background. A real thin coat, as thin as I can, over that purple with the amethyst. I can water it down too if it's too thick. And then of course I can paint details. So I have multicolors in the background. I have my shirt that I painted solid. And then I can always paint details with this little brush. And I'll just paint. Can add something back here like a little star. Now these two colors are going to mix in the kiln. And if I wanted to emphasize anything in my face, I would do that. Make sure to clean out my brushes. Now, another thing you can do is take your sponge, once that's all covered, and if you want it just in the grooves, you can wipe away. With a damp sponge, the top layer. The more you wipe away, the more you'll see just the grooves. I'm going to finish my amethyst so that I can show you finished. I think I'm going to leave my face white. So you can do it thin, you can do it thicker. You can do thin single coat if you want it just kind of see-through like. If you want it thick, then do a second coat. So my background I'm going to leave kind of soft, thin like. You can wipe it away and leave it in the grooves only. I think I'll leave it like this right now. Now I'm ready to do my clear. I'm going to make sure I put my underglazes back in where they belong. And I'll put those away in a few minutes, and then I will clean my brushes to do the clear. The clear is down here, can't see me, sorry. The clear is right here, LG10 clear glaze. Sample is clear, just looks white like the ceramic. It does look pink to start with. So now this is a glaze. Somebody didn't put the lid on right, so hopefully this isn't dried out. And hopefully I can get it off. There we go. Okay, so this needs to be mixed up with the drill. So I'm going to come over here, put my drill in there, and give it a good mix. When you're done mixing, make sure you clean out the drill very well, because you don't want to leave a glaze in there for the next person to have to try and clean it off. If you get to it right away, when it's still wet, it'll come off pretty easily. Okay, now, next step, I'm going to grab this plate from in here and a sponge from in here, a clean sponge. So, the first step, so that you don't smear your underglazes, because they will move on you if they'll wipe away, remember, they can be wiped away, is to sponge on your first layer. So I'm going to take some of this glaze, and I'm going to pour a little bit out onto my plate. I'm going to take the sponge and wipe off the edge of that glaze so that it doesn't leave a mess where it won't close like somebody left, so I'm going to have to fix that before I put it away. Now I'm going to get a little bit of this pink on the sponge. I have some pink on the sponge. Remember, it's going to, once it's in the kiln, it's going to become clear. And I'm going to dab that on to make sure I get a good coating of it. This is just for my first layer. And I'm watching my sponge as I dab it on because I don't want to transfer my color somewhere else. So everything's going to turn kind of a pink color if I do it right. Now this is more important if you have colors that you really don't want to transfer. Now on the face, since it's just clear, I could take a brush. Again, I'm going to use a soft brush. And I'm going to use what I have left on my plate and go ahead and brush a coat on. You can see everything is starting to turn pink. It means I'm getting it good and coated. Then I can go start dipping into the jar with the brush. Trying to get it to go down in my subtraction, all my grooves in there. You're going to want to do a second coat of the clear once the first coat is dry, which again, you can see glazes don't take very long to dry. The darker is wet, the lighter is thin. Now that I've sponged my first one on, now I'm going to brush on my second coat onto the underglaze part. It shouldn't smear this time because I've already got my first coat on there, but you still want to watch where your brush marks go. You don't want too much because you don't want it to drip and get stuck to my kiln shelf. But you also don't want to get it so thin that it's not making it shiny. Okay, so now that I'm going to let dry and it will fire in the kiln. I'm going to clean up everything. I'm going to wash out my sponge, I'm going to wash out my brush, and I'm going to gently wash out my plate and put everything back where it belongs, please.